Power 93.7 WBLK. I'm Yasmin Young. This is the 2 to 6 takeover with a very, very exclusive interview. I know that you've probably seen the promos and the advertisement for it, but Surviving R. Kelly Part 2, The Reckoning, is going to be on tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday on Lifetime at 9 o'clock. And I have one of the executive producers of Surviving R. Kelly, Jesse Daniels, also the vice president of development at Creative Inc., on with me. Welcome to Buffalo.
Thank you so much for having me, Yasmin.
All right. So this, there was a lot that came out of Surviving R. Kelly, the first series, and a lot of talk, a lot of controversy. So what can we expect from Part 2?
Yeah, so I was part of the first production for Part 1, and we were incredibly proud of what we were able to do and to give a platform for survivors to tell their stories for the first time on TV. We had no intention to do a Part 2. We thought, we gave everything we had into Part 1, but then certainly more events started to unfold. Charges were filed, and then we also started to talk to more survivors, more people who had worked for R. Kelly at one point or another, and other people who were in the music industry at that time. We realized pretty quickly that there were areas we couldn't talk about last time around, and now we can. And so that's why we're here, is to continue this story, to continue the fight against sexual violence, and to be able to share, to give a platform for our survivors.
Did you run into somewhat of a firewall when it came to, people in the industry talking about it, people that, maybe weren't even connected to R. Kelly, but for some reason were either protecting him or protecting that kind of brotherhood in the industry?
Of course. I think that there's a reason why this story hasn't been told in full for decades. I think that we're now lucky enough to be in an era, Me Too era, where we can tell these stories. There will always be resistance. There will always be people that are not ready to talk. But I think if you look at what we have 70 participants this year. Wow. That's up from 55 last year who came on camera. So certainly a lot of people who are ready to come forward and share their experiences, share their opinions, and it's powerful.
For the survivors, the actual survivors who, had these, I don't even know if I should call them relationships, but these experiences with R. Kelly, where are they now? Where are they? Are a lot of them healing? Have they healed? Where are they in that? Because I know a lot of times this can open new wounds for people or open old wounds for people and create a new wound.
You're absolutely right. I think that it's hard when you see someone on TV, you don't realize if this is not a career for them. This is a sacrifice to be able to come on and share your story, the most personal parts of your life and damaging parts of your life. And so I think that for each of them, they're in different places. I'm happy to say many of them are in a really good place right now. They've, moved on in their lives and careers, but, it's still every time, they begin to tell their story, it's not easy. It's a sacrifice. And we certainly go into that in Part 2 of what that sacrifice means, both seeing this tidal wave of support, but also a tidal wave of backlash. Right. And what's that like to experience that in a very big public level.
Well, and let's talk about, the fact checking that you as one of the executive producers did, because I know one of the criticisms for everything that happened since Surviving R. Kelly, the first series that came out, there's been a lot of people that have come and said, oh, they're not telling the truth. They're making that up. They're not a survivor. They didn't know him. They didn't have any experiences with him. So just for the people that are listening, what type of fact checking and verification did you all do when you were, talking to these survivors?
That's a great question. I think everyone should know that any person we put on screen, any story we tell, any fact that's put up there is corroborated. And what that means is we reach out to multiple people who are there at that time, who heard about that story at that time, witnesses, whatever, documents, whatever we can to make sure that if we put it out there, we've checked it and we've made sure that it's as accurate as it can be.
All right. So tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, 9 p.m. on Lifetime, Surviving R. Kelly Part 2, The Reckoning. Jesse, thank you so much for talking with me and just sharing what we can expect for this new series. And we're definitely, going to be watching it.